Hello and welcome back. In the last video, we added the Flash message feature to our application. In this video, we're going to start working on edit recipe feature. Okay, so we have an application, we can create recipes, we cannot edit recipes, and we need that. Right now, here is my show recipes page. I want the ability to edit this. Okay, so let's start off by creating the action, and this is going to be in my recipes controller. So right here, controllers, recipes controller, this is going to be my edit and update action. Okay, define edit, and edit is simply going to render the form, and then define update. This is going to handle the form submission. Okay, edit basically submits to update, and that's how the edit feature works. So let's take a look at my recipes test. Okay, this is my recipes integration test file. As you can see, it's getting pretty big. Okay, I don't want to add on to this at this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate test for edit feature, and I'm going to generate this Rails generate integration test, and I will call this recipes underscore edit. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. It's going to be in my test folder, integration. There is recipes edit. Okay, recipes edit test. The first thing I'm going to need in my recipes edit test is I'm going to need a recipe. So I already have the setup done in my recipes test, so I'm simply going to copy the first two lines here. Here's my setup. And I'm gonna copy chef and then recipe. Okay, I'm not gonna copy the second or third lines because I only need one recipe and successfully editing that one. So Command C over here, go to my new file, which is the recipes edit test, Command V. There is my setup. Okay, and then I'll have to end this method. There you go. So there's my setup method. This is going to create a chef and then create a recipe and give it a name, description, and associate this with the chef. Okay, so we're gonna follow similar trajectory that we did for our new recipe creation. First, we're gonna test to see that invalid recipe update is rejected, and then we're going to successfully edit a recipe. So there's gonna be two tests. It's going to be reject invalid recipe update, and the next one, whoops, I have an extra end here. Okay, the next one is going to be successfully edit a recipe. Okay, so let's start with reject invalid recipe update. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to go to the edit recipes route. If I type in Rails routes, there is my edit recipe route, edit underscore recipe underscore path. Okay, and it takes this form /recipe/id, which is the dynamic element /edit. So here I have a recipe show page for recipe number 8. So an edit would simply look like this /edit. And you see that there's a template missing in my recipes controller. Now, why is this not saying the route doesn't exist? Because the route exists. As you know, in my routes file, let me pull it up in my config routes file right here. We have resources recipes, which gives us this edit recipe route. And then in my recipes controller, I have my edit action. Therefore, all that's missing is a template for edit. Okay, so let's look at our test again. Over here, first I'm going to go to that edit route. So get edit recipe path, and this is going to need the recipe that I want to go to because it's going to need the dynamic ID element, which is this part right here, the ID. Okay, so edit recipe path. Then what do I want it to do? Then I want to assert the edit template. So assert template recipes/edit. Okay, and what do I want to do then? I want to then patch, meaning I want to update the recipe. Okay, and this is going to post to recipe path at recipe. Now you may ask, how did I get this? Check it out. Here is my edit path, okay? Edit, and it submits to this path right here, this patch. And look at the format it is in. It's /recipes/:ID, okay? And this simply is a recipe path, and it needs the recipe object, all right? So it's going to patch and submit this to recipe path at recipe, okay? Then we have to say what we are submitting. So params, open close curly brace, within it, it's going to be top level key of recipe. So recipe, open close curly brace, and then we're gonna say name and give it an empty name, okay? And description, since it's invalid, I want the name to be empty, okay? And description is going to be some description, okay? So this should reject, right? Because my name here is empty, so it should reject, okay? And once it rejects, what do I want to happen? I want to assert the edit template again. So assert template, recipes edit, okay? And then I want to show the error messages. Remember my error partial, and this is going to be the same as this one in my recipes test right here, the H2 panel title from my error partial and the div panel body from my error partial. So since I'm going to reuse the error partial here, I'm simply going to look for the same ones. Assert, select, and it's going to be h2.panel-title, and then assert _select. Again, I'm going to say div.panel-body. Okay? So there you go. There's my reject invalid recipe update. I would recommend at this time pause this video and take a quick look at this so you get familiar with it. Okay, see how the information or the expectation of the information flow is. Okay, I hope you managed that. Now let's go ahead and run our test. Now I'm going to run specifically just this test. I don't want to run my entire test suite. And to do that, I can simply type in Rails test and then the path for it. So test integration recipes _edit_test.rb. Okay, we have an error, and the error said that my template is missing. Okay, and this is the same error we are getting here. Great. So let's go ahead and create our edit view. So if you look at your views and then recipes, right click on your recipes folder, new file, we're going to say edit.html.erb. Now this edit view is going to be absolutely identical, almost identical to the new HTML ERB with a different title, obviously. So I'm simply going to copy all of this, Command A to highlight, Command C to copy, and then go back to edit, Command V to paste. There are going to be some differences, like over here, the title, the shared title, it's not going to be create a new recipe. I'm going to change this to edit an existing recipe. Okay? And then if recipe errors any row, there's my errors. That should work. And if we scroll down, there's my form with name and description. Okay, so everything else remains the same. I'm going to save this. So now I have my edit form. If I go here and reload, okay, now it says undefined method errors for nil class. Why is that? I'm referring to @recipe instance variable, and I don't have this @recipe instance variable. I haven't initiated it, so I need to do that. Okay, in my recipes controller, right here, if you look at it, for the new action, I had initiated an instance variable. For the edit action, I need to initiate the instance variable, but I need to grab the ID for the recipe which I want to edit. So params ID right here. I need to grab that. So it's going to take this shape. at recipe equals recipe.find within parentheses params open close square bracket colon ID. Okay, so at recipe equals recipe.find params ID. Save that, reload this. There is the form with the name and description pre-filled in, because Rails, since this is a model-backed form, knows to grab this information from the database, okay, because it has the ID of this recipe. Okay, so let's run our test. Now that we have the controller, let's see what it says. Okay, it's failing. Where is it failing? It's saying expecting recipe edit but rendering with empty. Okay, so basically it's gone over here. It's expecting this to fail and then assert template recipes edit, but it's not getting that. Okay, because my update action, which needs to handle this, has not been created yet. So let's do that. I'm going to go to my recipes controller, update action. So first we're going to initiate the instance variable at recipe equals recipe.find params colon ID. Okay, and then if at recipe dot update, meaning it updates successfully, open close parentheses, and we have to use strong parameters, so we're gonna just reuse the same method, recipe params, recipe underscore params, handle this. Okay, else we're going to say render edit. All right, end. So if recipe updates successfully, then something else render edit. Let's save that and let's run it. Let's run the test. Okay, check it out. Now I have no errors in my test because I'm only testing for a failed update, right? And this is successfully handling the fail. So if I look at my recipes edit right here, this is working. Okay, now I need to test for a successful edit of a recipe. And that we're going to start doing in the next video. In the meantime, we covered some important testing and implementation here with the edit action. So I'd recommend just take a second look at it. Okay, take a second look and see exactly what we did to accomplish this. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll test for and then implement a successful edit. See you there.